Hello, I'm Deborah Pope, Executive Director of the Ezra Jack Keats Foundation, and on behalf of my colleagues from the New York City Department of Education, Karen Rosner, Director of Visual Arts from the Office of Visual Arts and Special Projects, and Melissa Jacobs, Director of School Library Services from the Office of Library Services, as well as Judy Zuckerman, Director of Youth and Family Services at Brooklyn Public Library, I am proud to present the 2022 Ezra Jack Keats Bookmaking Competition Award Celebration. We are especially proud of these student authors and illustrators for having created such outstanding books despite the interruptions and hardships brought on by the continuing pandemic. And it is with deep respect that I thank the educators and families who facilitated their work. To put it mildly, this has not been an easy year, but you wouldn't know it by looking at the students' books. The work done this year was of the highest quality, and I thank you all. I'm also very excited and happy to introduce our very special guest artist speaker, Katie Yamasaki. Katie is a children's book artist and author and muralist who focuses on themes of social justice and stories from underrepresented communities. Her most recent book, Dad Bakes, has earned starred reviews from School Library Journal, Kirkus, and Publishers Weekly. Her other books include When the Cousins Came and Fish for Jimmy. In addition to being a celebrated author and illustrator, Katie worked for 14 years as a public school Spanish and art teacher in Detroit and here in New York City. In addition to this, Katie created the wonderful 6-part video tutorial series on how to inspire students to write and illustrate their books for the EJK competition that is now featured on the Ezra Jack Keats Foundation website. I'm thrilled to hand the 2022 Ezra Jack Keats Bookmaking Award celebration over to Katie Yamasaki.
I'm so happy to be with you all today, and congratulations to all of you, to the winners and everybody who got an honor, and also everybody who has just put in the time and the work to tell your stories. Your projects are amazing and breathtaking. My last book is a book called Dad Bakes, and I bring it up because it's interesting to think about what you choose to make your books about and whose stories you decide to tell. Dad Bakes talks about a father who's formerly incarcerated reuniting with his daughter. In my life and work as a muralist especially, I've worked with a lot of families and people who are impacted by incarceration. So in Dad Bakes, what I wanted to do was show Dad as like a complete human being that he is, that we all are, right? Before you find out that he has a history of incarceration, you find out that he's a gardener, that he's a cat lover, that he's a baker, that he's an incredible father, that he loves to play dress up and is a movie lover, that he is all of these things, just like any of you, just like any of your characters, that he's a complete whole person. The reason that I bring this up is just because what I hope for you is as you move forward with your stories and you continue making books, that when you choose a topic or you choose a story, immerse yourself in that world so that you can get to know the characters, not just as characters, but as actual people, and find ways to tell stories of complicated lives in the most essential way possible, where you really get at the essence of somebody, because everybody, no matter the character, is more than one thing. Stories matter so much. When I was in 7th grade, I remember a day in school was the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, which was the day that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, which launched the US into World War II. Okay, so on that day, my 7th grade US history teacher said, "Katie, you're Japanese. Why don't you tell the class what happened today in history?" So as shocking of a question as that was, I kind of chose it as an opportunity to tell a story. So I told my class and I told my teacher about how that night, the night that Pearl Harbor was attacked, my great-grandfather was arrested and taken into custody in a military prison because he was part owner of a produce market. So that deemed him a threat to national security, which is as crazy as it sounds. I told them about how My entire family on the West Coast had to sell their homes, leave their schools, leave their jobs, lose everything that they had that they could not carry in 2 bags to get on crowded buses to take them to dusty prisons in the middle of the desert where they would spend the next 4 or 5 years for the length of the war. When I finished telling my teacher in my class that story, my teacher said, "That never happened." And I said, "Yes, it did." And he said, "No, it didn't." "Yes, it did." "No, it didn't." And we went back and forth like that for some time. But I wasn't really raised to argue with my teacher. So I kind of stopped, but it planted a little seed about how important our stories are, how quickly they can be erased, and how essential it is that we get to tell our own stories because we know the truth. So it's a sacred process, and I'm really happy that you all have kind of chosen to dive in. And dive in, you did. You have really done the storytelling and the bookmaking communities proud. In your books, you are opening yourselves up to the world around you and your own experiences. Maybe they're experiences with grief, like we saw in Build a Friend. Maybe it's your experience with wonder, as we saw in the incredible book Voyage, or bullying, which we saw in The New Cow on the Farm, which was very funny, but also very tender. Maybe this was showing your experience with love that we saw so tenderly depicted in The Tree on My Block. I was very moved by the image of the girl hugging the tree, and it was a feeling we could all relate to, this kind of love of nature that we kind of came to depend upon so much during COVID and in our quarantines. The books became a space for your silliness. I laughed a lot in Pigeon's Passions just to see the pigeon character live out the most wild fantasies from their imagination and beautiful depictions of nature. I was very moved by the kind of nighttime blue spread that served as a metaphor in Birds of a Feather. Such a wonderful depiction of Mother Earth, but also of how we relate to each other in that context. I was moved by the family love shown in Back Off COVID, I'm Having a Baby Sister. That book showed the tenderness that we feel towards our family, and it's so important to express. And I know that that baby sister, when she grows up, she will read that book and be so moved that you chose to focus your energy on what her life was going to be like being born at this time. And of course, humor. The Adventures of the Whale Guy and Normal Guy. I laughed out loud in that book. Your openness in sharing and receiving these stories will make your life so much more infinitely rich. And I am so happy for you because of this. To be a storyteller is not only being the person who's telling the story, but you're also listening to stories. You're absorbing stories. You're asking your family big questions and finding ways to share the truth of their story. You're recording the stories of your community, of this planet. So you're taking on an important responsibility, and I'm so proud of you. And I feel so absolutely certain that you are the right people to do the job. Your commitment to your craft, your commitment to the story, to your truth, and to your own voice, most important of all, comes through in all of these beautiful projects. And I can't wait to see the books that you continue making in your future. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for sharing these wonderful projects.
Thank you, Katie. I hope all of you out there feel great pride in your work. Getting praise from a professional like Katie is a great achievement, and I know I'm very proud of you. And now, without further ado, I'll present this year's awards, starting with the Borough Winners and concluding with the City Winners. Borough Winners, grades 3 through 5. Back Off COVID, I'm Going to Have a Baby Sister by London Sims and Naomi Tom. Grade 4, PS 156, the Waverly School of the Arts, Brooklyn. Teachers, Leanne Anderson, Ryan Nicholson, Dion Cyrano. Principal, Naima Moore Allen. Birds of a Feather by Bella Zhang and Olivia Huang, Grade 5, PS 105K, the Blytheborn School, Brooklyn. Teachers, Aizhen Li, Jane Yuil, Flora Zhang. Principal, Shirley Chen. Faded with the Minute's Breeze by Suhala Hassan, Grade 5, PS 63Q, the Old South School, Queens. Teacher, Maria Panatopoulou. Librarian, Kathleen Kavanaugh Fleischman. Principal, Denise de Jesus Bustamante. The New Cow on the Farm by Ihatu Adoyi, Grade 5, PS 58R, Space Shuttle Columbia School, Staten Island. Librarian Stacy Belize, Principal Michael Lamort. Two Black Balls by Jamelin Chin, Grade 5, PS 50R, the Frank Hankinson School, Staten Island. Teacher Stephanie Uvara, Principal Joseph Santello. Borough Winners, Grades 6 through 8. All the Different Animals I See by Jeremiah Wilson and Savinch Olimjanava, Grade 8, PS 77K, District 75, Brooklyn. Teachers, Amy Robinson, Dina Cospetas, Principal Ebony Russell. The Adventures of Harper and Friends, The Doggy Beach by Lena Goings, Grade 8, Summer Arts Institute, Manhattan. Teacher, Laura Blau, Principal, David Lamort. The Adventures of Whale Guy and Normal Guy by Anthony Borshevsky and Anthony Pareja, Grade 6, PS 323Q, Scholars Academy, Queens. Teacher, Teresa O'Brien Israel, Principal, Michelle Smith. The Seasons with Fernando by Stella Seriola, Grade 8, MS HS 141X, Riverdale Kingsbridge Academy, Bronx. Teacher, Isa Almonte, Librarian Julia Loving, Principal, Lori O'Mara. Yuan's New Year by Ali Zhao, Grade 8, IS 98K, the Bay Academy for the Arts and Sciences, Brooklyn. Teacher, Meredith Samuelson, Librarian Marietta Falconieri, Principal, Mara Timo. Borough Winners, Grades 9 through 12. Candlelight by Jaden Romero and Jasmine Marrero, Grade 11, Millennium Art Academy, Bronx. Teacher, Laura Blau, Principal, Herman Guy. Invisible by Helen Reyes Abreu, Grade 11, HS 400M, High School for Environmental Studies, Manhattan. Teacher, Ikuko Waikia, Principal, Heather DeFlorio. City Winners, Grades 3 through 5. The Tree on My Block by Hannah Carton, Grade 4, PS 8K, the Emily Warren Roebling School, Brooklyn. Teacher, Melissa Browning, Principal, Patricia Peterson. City Winners, Grades 6 through 8. Building a Friend by Gloria Hay, Grade 8, IS 239K, Mark Twain for the Gifted and Talented, Brooklyn. Teacher, Michelle Wallach, Principal, Karen DeTola. City Winners, Grades 9 through 12. Pigeon's Passions by Ines Donnelly, Grade 10, High School 299Q, Bard High School, Early College, Queens. Teacher, Mary Jo Lombardo, Principal, Valerie Thompson. Voyage by Isabel Lee, Grade 12, HS 430K, Brooklyn Technical High School. Teacher, Elizabeth Filippelli, Principal, David Newman.